Now, I take this time to introduce all of you to Power Monday, and I welcome all of you people who are here for the first time. This is a program that has been happening every single Monday, except if it is a holiday in Kenya, if it is a public holiday. But if it's not a holiday, then we always have Power Monday. It starts at 7:15 officially, but we open the room from 7 a.m. and it goes up to 8:15. We discuss different topics. It was started during COVID, actually. It was meant to give people some reason to live again, reason to continue to live and to have some hope, because at that time people were so depressed and many people were feeling like it's the end of the world. So we took it upon ourselves to give people a reason to start their Mondays, to start their weeks with gusto, and to see that there is still tomorrow. And we are happy for that, because we've been able to do it all these years. We keep discussing different topics, ranging from those for entrepreneurship, professional development, personal development, and all sorts of things. And we are glad. We have different stories. We have lots of people who have testimonies about Power Monday. And we usually meet 3 times physically in a year, at least 3 times, that is, for people who are within Nairobi or its environs. And we this year we met on 6th of April. We also met on that is, we call the meet and greet, places that are fun. People interact, connect, share contacts, cut business deals. And now we also met in July. That was on July 29th. And we are going to meet again this month on 25th. And it's going to be a dinner you can't be left out. It's going to be at the Hotel Boulevard, Nairobi. So let's all ensure that we are there. Actually, we want we want the list to be submitted. That is, the total numbers to be submitted by 10th, because the dinner is on 25th, which is the last Friday of the month. So you are all welcome, and we want to see all of you in person, at least if you are within Nairobi, yeah, or within the environs. That is, could be as far as Nakuru. It doesn't matter. The hotel also has accommodation. Uh, so I want to welcome one of these to take. I know the Ambolale is eager to introduce the guest, but I want to call upon Cynthia to introduce the guest. This is one of those testimonies for Paramount. She'll give us a story on that day. Cynthia.
Thank you, Bwana Paul. I love the fact that you've mentioned that this is one of those testimonies, and I hope one day I'll be able to tell my story as a beneficiary of this Power Monday meeting. Yeah, so let me not go into it. My role today is just to introduce the speaker. And our speaker today is Dr. Malaika Kamenju. She is a consultant psychiatrist, and she's based in Nairobi, Kenya. She has practice, her practice is located along Langata Road. Her specialty is in treating mental illness and promoting mental wellness in both individuals and corporate settings. She is the founder of Malaika Wellness Hub, and she's dedicated to providing evidence-based mental health care, and she's a sought-after speaker on mental wellness in organizations. And we are glad to have her here this morning. Dr. Malaika Kamenju, we welcome you to speak to us. Thank you.
Beautiful. And just to mention that this topic is also close to Cynthia's heart, because she started some organization recently to deal specifically with that, to deal with people, the caregivers. Yes, so she's into it. Dr. Malaika, we are ready for you.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Very pleased to be here. Morning. Very pleased to be here this morning to give this talk. I'm happy I should talk to Cynthia, because you say my topic is in keeping with her organization. So it's very timely. I'm happy that I'm doing this for Cynthia. Cynthia, this is from me to you, a dedication. like we did with songs back in the day.
Thank you, Daktari.
Karibu. Let me show my slides, share my screen rather. Again, thank you very much for having me today. I'm Dr. Malaika Kamenju. I am a psychiatrist. I am located within Langata Road, like they introduced me to be. And so we will talk about wellness for caregivers. And normally, I like to begin with an MCQ. Okay, not MCQ, that's a test. Like a true and false kind of situation, but there's no time today, so we'll just jump right into it. Hopefully next time we'll have enough time to do a bit of a myths, true and false about mental health, about the topic of the day. But today, let's get the ball rolling with the wellness for caregivers. So in discussing wellness for caregivers, it's important for us to know what is wellness and who are the caregivers. And then from there, discuss the practical ways that caregivers can manage their mental wellness or their mental health. So when we talk about mental wellness, we should know that it's not a destination, it's a process, and it's a lifelong process where somebody is actually deliberate in their strategy in strengthening their mental, their emotional, their social, and psychological resources. So when you talk about mental, we're talking about the thought process, how we think, how we process and understand and use information that is given or shared to us. Emotional is from the word emotions, feelings, but not just feelings, but how we manage and express those emotions. Social is our connections. How do we connect with others, either those within our homes, those outside of our homes, generally our interpersonal relationship with other people around us. And then psychological now is the culmination of all these things, the mental, emotional, and social come out as our behavior, how we act or how we function. These are all based on your thought process leads you to a certain emotion that makes you behave in a particular way, either with your relatives, at work, in your caregiving process. So mental wellness, like I said, is a lifelong process, and it's about prevention of your mental health or promoting positive good health and coping with life's adversities, which is what many caregivers struggle with, and also being resilient when in terms of stress, in terms of worry, in terms of anger and sadness. And resilience basically means how we bounce back from adversities. And you know, life has various adversities, and in the caregiving process, that's a huge adversity. If it's your loved one, whether it's your child, it's your parent, that whole process of caregiving can be quite trying in terms of your whole psyche. So resilience will help you in basically managing that situation. So who is a caregiver? So he's a care receiver and a caregiver. A caregiver is somebody who provides care for somebody who is unable to provide their own care and adequately function. And of course, the care receiver is the one who the caregiver is providing this care to. And it's the caregiver and care receiver relationship can be quite straining, because this is person, perhaps it was your husband, now has suffered a stroke. It's your wife who has suffered a stroke or has a malignancy. Now they're unable to function like they used to. So it changes really the dynamics around the home, around how you used to be before. So like we said, they can either be spouses, they can be adult children to their parents, or parents to their children, or just other family members or friends being the caregivers. Of those caregivers, 2/3 of them are female. It's very telling, because when you work in a hospital and you go to all the wards, or rather most of the wards, if not all the wards, you find that most of the inpatients, whether it's the female ward or the male ward, the ones who are helping them, the caregivers, are almost always female. Whether it's the male surgical ward, the male general ward, the female gyne ward, delivery ward, the pediatric ward, generally the caregivers in there are women, which is interesting. So in terms of caregiving, most are not prepared for this role because some things just happen out of nowhere. You're pregnant, you're expecting a healthy baby, you deliver a child, a few months down the line, told they have cerebral palsy. Now you begin this journey of caregiving. You have a very healthy parent who was independent. They suffer a stroke. Now you're the caregiver in that situation. So there was no warning. Perhaps they were healthy, and then now they are paralyzed, they are bedridden, and the roles now quickly change. And many people are caregivers who are not prepared and literally have zero to no support completely in this caregiving role. A mother who delivers a child who has cerebral palsy, in many cases, not most, but a big number of parents, or rather fathers, disappear. They say things like, kwetu hakuna hiyo shida, leaving this woman alone with no support. Of the caregivers, a third of them will continue to provide intense care while experiencing poor health themselves because there's literally no time. You have this child to take care of, you're their mother, you're their father, it's clinic reviews, it's buying medication, it's managing them at home, they cannot sleep. So basically you forget yourself in that whole process. So how can caregiving impact someone? So generally, it's very complex. The caregiving role is very complex, and this can lead to emotional, mental, and physical health problems due to the strain for caring for your frail or disabled relative. And if one doesn't take care of themselves properly, these caregivers stand a high risk of going through either caregiver stress, caregiver burnout, and caregiver stress can lead to depression. Caregiver burnout can also lead to depression if not managed as soon as possible, or if one doesn't put in place ways to manage their own mental health or their own physical health. So when you talk about caregiver stress, what do we mean by that? So this stems from the emotional, social, and physical strain of caregiving. We all know that caregiving, especially if you're the sole caregiver of your child or of your parent or of your husband, it can be very emotional draining, very socially draining, because now you no longer have a social life. Your life as it used to be now has changed. You're literally tethered or have a leash just around the home or around the hospital as you struggle in between home and hospital in managing this person. So it can take many forms. For example, you can get frustrated, you can have worry because you're not sure what's going to happen tomorrow at the doctor's visit. You can be angry at the situation that life has dealt you. You can feel immense sadness at somebody who was your hero. Perhaps it's your father who used to be your hero, and now he's bedridden. Now he's unable to take care of himself. He's unable to give you advice. He's barely talking. So it can be very frustrating. This can lead to sleep changes. So either you may sleep too much or sleep too little. And even if you sleep too much, you end up feeling tired most of the time. Like we said, there's little to no support in many cases. So it's a very lonely and isolating place to be. So one may feel lonely and they may feel overwhelmed with the whole process of caregiving. Medications are involved, cleaning is involved, getting someone to help you with perhaps cooking the food, mashing the food, feeding this person, bathing this person. So it's very overwhelming. And of course, with the overwhelm, with the stress, one has appetite changes. So you either eat too much, you're stress eating, or you're barely eating. So one can either gain weight or one can lose weight and also have just general body aches, what we call hapakule kind of symptoms. Like we said, 2/3 of caregivers are women, and it's no surprise that caregiver stress appears to affect more women than men. This is a study that was done in India that showed that 40% of female caregivers were emotionally stressed compared to only a quarter of the men. Generally, though, about 3/4 of caregivers report feeling strained, either emotionally or physically. So we had said if one doesn't take care of themselves properly, they are at risk of caregiver stress, but also caregiver burnout. Burnout in general, and if you just generally define burnout, is an ongoing state of feeling overwhelmed or feeling fatigued and just drained emotionally due to excessive and prolonged stress. So this can be either in the context of work, you're working too hard, you're working long hours, you're barely sleeping, you can get to a state of burnout. Similarly, as a caregiver, you can also be prone to caregiver burnout due to the long-term stress that you're exposed to that ends up affecting you physically in terms of physical health, emotional health, and then just general mental well-being because of the constant demands of caregiving. If you're the only one who is managing perhaps your father or your child, you have to be the one to know the hospital visit date, the clinic review date, the special foods that they have to have. You have to be the one to go and get that food, to mash it, to prepare it. So it can be quite overwhelming, leave alone the fact that you have to also manage their general cleanliness. Perhaps at night they're not sleeping, perhaps at night they're very aggressive, they're violent. So it can be very overwhelming for anyone. And it's no surprise that many caregivers will not take time for themselves, not because they don't want to, but because there's just no time. And eventually they may show signs of caregiver burnout. These signs can either be exhaustion, because one is feeling drained all the time, they're unable to deal emotionally with problems around them, they feel low most of the time, they experience extreme tiredness, they're constantly without any energy. And this can even show up as physical symptoms like physical pain, stomach problems. You can also have mental burnout symptoms, which can be seen to be like indecisiveness. Ajui, as in kila kitu kimuuliza, they are not sure. They have so much self-doubt. They feel helpless most of the time. They feel defeated and they feel like a failure. Over time, they slowly lose themselves. They lose a sense of purpose. They feel increasingly cynical, dissatisfied, and just generally incapable of doing these other areas of their life. Physical burnout symptoms can look like just a lot of fatigue, no energy. They may get sick often, general body aches, recurring headaches, appetite changes. So one either may eat too much, stress eating, or barely eat, and they may have difficulty sleeping. Also, they may not sleep well at night because perhaps the person who they're caregiving is unable to sleep. So if you're not sleeping, you really cannot sleep. If your child at night is coughing, maybe they have cerebral palsy, they are coughing, you're not sure, you're always unsure if they are choking. So you're always on the lookout, you're always guarded. So you barely get time to sleep. You barely sleep because you're constantly worried about your person, or perhaps they're not sleeping. At night they're violent, maybe they have dementia. At night they're violent, they're aggressive, they are having hallucinations. So if they don't sleep, you also will not sleep. So many times it's not that they're not having sleep, they may be tired, they may have sleep, but just that their person is barely sleeping at night. So it forces them to stay up late for several nights at a row. Of course, this can lead to burnout. So this was a study that was done in India, a survey that was done in India on a couple of caregivers. And the emotions that they shared were basically around 4 emotions that kept recurring in the various caregivers. So the first one was helplessness. This lady says, I have this sense of helplessness that I've never experienced in my life. I was a career military officer, and all my life I've been in charge of things. I could get things to happen. I could make things better and solve problems. Now it feels that there's nothing I can do to stop her decline. I'm losing her and I can't stop it. So you see how she feels just complete helplessness in the situation of caregiving. The next one is resentment, quite a common emotion for caregivers. This person says, this is not the way our life was supposed to work out. We had great plans for when we retired. Since he had the stroke, we've gone from planning trips to struggling to get to the bathroom. Juggling caregiving responsibilities has left me exhausted with no time or energy for my grandchildren. I end up feeling resentful at the hand I've been dealt. I love my husband and know it's not his fault, but it just isn't fair. See how she's so resigned and just very resentful at what has happened at this point. They thought, let's live our life, let's retire, and then let's enjoy life, travel the world. But then here we are dealt with these things. So it's unexpected and one is unprepared. The other common emotion is just feelings of guilt. She says, or he says, sometimes I just wish it would all be over. I know that sounds terrible, and I feel so guilty when I have those thoughts. I feel guilty when I lose my patience and yell at my dad. I feel guilty when I forget to pick up his medicine or pretend that I don't hear him when he calls for me. No matter what I do, it seems like it's not enough and that I should be doing better. I should have a better attitude and be more loving and compassionate. Mostly, I just feel guilty. You name the bad feelings and thoughts, and I probably had them. So this is a child feeling so bad about how now the father is now dependent on him or her, and they just have these bad feelings, hoping that the father possibly would die sooner or something happens sooner, so they can just end. The other common emotion is grief. So this one says, I go to work and every night I drag myself to the nursing home to take care of my mother and cry all the way home. I can't stand to see her that way. She used to be so vibrant and alive. My sadness sometimes feels overwhelming. I just cry. I can't eat and feel hopeless and irritable all the time. Mother and I have always been so close, and I feel as if she has died, yet she's still here. So those are the 4 common emotions that came up on that study. So you could see how this is a close family members, and the roles have changed suddenly, and it's just a lot of overwhelm, helplessness in the situation that's happening. So again, when we go back to our first slide about what mental wellness is, we said it's a lifelong process. So look at it as if it's a bank account. Every day you deposit into that account some money so that when a rainy day comes, you're prepared. The same thing with mental wellness. So we are all supposed to be depositing money in this account every single day with the actions that we take in the event of adversity, because no one can predict tomorrow. Tomorrow you can lose your job. Tomorrow you can, a child can get sick. Tomorrow a parent can, nothing is really predictable except death and taxes, like they commonly say. So what mental wellness does is you do things proactively to strengthen your mental, emotional, social, and psychological resources in the event, God forbid, that you have to now go into that account on that rainy day and withdraw some money. So when you're prepared, some of these things, when they happen, of course, there's no guarantee, but when they happen, at least it will not be a bigger setback as it would had you not been prepared. So when talking about mental wellness, how do we build these reserves? How do we strengthen our mental, emotional, social, and psychological resources? So the thing to do is what we called self-care. So self-care is not selfish. Self-care is just actually a WHO kind of initiative whereby a person actively participates in enhancing the quality of their health. So it can either be physical health, mental health, but it's providing, it's self-initiated. You do intentional actions to take care of your physical, your mental, and emotional health. In the event you need to now go into that account to withdraw some reserves. So again, self-care obviously means self, me, and then care, me caring for myself, treating myself as a person who deserves care. And this is the most important role of caregiving, self-care, because a healthy caregiver provides better care. We all know, we've had, it makes sense to think that if somebody is healthy in their own self, they're healthy physically, healthy mentally, they're better able to take care of their loved one. So we talk about practical strategies to manage or to take care of ourselves. So there are various facets in self-care. So There's a sensory. Sensory is one facet. So whenever one feels stressed and they need to calm their mind, one can try focusing on things that are around them. So these are sensations around them. So our 5 senses: our sense of sight, our sense of smell, our sense of sound, taste, and touch. So in that particular moment, when you're feeling so much overwhelmed, you're feeling so much stress, even just general small stress, leave alone the caregiving stress, but just regular stress, you focusing on those senses, any of those 3 senses at a time. So perhaps sight, smells, and sound. So currently my sight, I'm looking at the window, I'm seeing trees, I'm seeing a garden, I'm seeing a dog barking. I'm seeing a dog. That's three of things that are in my sight, my view of view. That. And then smells. Maybe I'm smelling eggs being made in the kitchen, or eggs being made at Java, or I'm smelling my coffee. I'm smelling someone's perfume near me. Sounds. I'm hearing the sound of a car horn. I'm hearing music playing in the background. I'm hearing a child crying next to me. So just being in that present moment will give you a break from your worries at the time. So some of them can also be getting a massage, that's touch, taking a hot bath or shower, that's still touch, and then listening to soothing music. So that's a thing that you can do on a day-to-day basis. It's really something that sounds very silly and very, very small, but in doing that, it calms you. If you're worried about something, you feel instantly calm, and the worry, because no worries, you think about what if, which is a future thing. But you see, if you're being in the present moment, it makes your mind not think about other things, but just be here right now, hearing this voice, hearing that dog barking, smelling that onion being cut next to you, smelling that your neighbor in the next cubicle's perfume. Another strategy is pleasure. So of course, pleasure, we all like pleasure. So that's a good way to take care of yourself when coping with stress, is to engage in a pleasurable activity. This can be journaling how you feel at the moment, journaling things you wish would happen, journaling how your future plans. Perhaps you can be watching a movie, like having a soda, a Fanta, a very cold Fanta on a hot day, taking yourself out to eat in a fancy or nice restaurant once in a while. So what about mental ways to manage to build your resources, your reserves? So giving yourself a boost by doing a task that you've been avoiding, or challenging your brain in a new way. For example, doing a crossword puzzle that is quite tricky, trying a new activity that you've thought you would never do, like skydiving, that is very, very highly stimulating, or going to a new place you've not been to, going for a hike at a very challenging hike can be another way that if you have the time to take away from your normal day-to-day, can really, when you finish that task that is new, you may feel rejuvenated, may feel renewed, and better able to handle the ups and downs of life. Spiritual. So spirituality is very personal. It's my spirituality and yours can be different. We may both be Catholics, but how we relate to God may be different. So when you're in touch with your values, for example, going to church or going to a place for meditation, going to a shrine, sitting down there next to in the chapel, and just sitting there and looking at the Blessed Sacrament, perhaps, or going to the mosque, if that's what you believe in, just taking time to meditate or pray. It seems like a very normal and usual thing we all do. All Sundays and Fridays we go to the mosque, we go to church. So we don't think about it as being something that it is building our mental reserves, but it is actually, especially if you're deliberate, if you're intentional with this action. If it's just not another day at Karura, another day with your journal, another day with a massage. If you're not deliberate in that, I'm doing this, I am here in this moment, having a good warm massage. Sometimes we just pay for these things, we go and do them, we live there, as in we've paid our money, but we're not even there. We're there being massaged, but our mind was thinking about tomorrow's work. I have to do this, I have to see this guy, I have to go there, I have to make this call. So even though it's a pleasurable thing, but your mind wasn't even there. It was just went there, put your body down, but your mind was miles away. So being deliberate in these intentions goes a long way in building those reserves. Emotional. So dealing with our emotions can be challenging when you're coping with stress. So sometimes we tend to label this emotion as a bad emotion. Maybe sadness is a bad emotion, and then good emotions are when you're feeling positive and optimistic. But that doesn't really help. What you need to know is just, currently I'm feeling sad. Currently I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling joy. To be there and just be in that moment, and not just label it, but just know that, yes, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling worried. If you need to cry, then cry. But also you must take time to have compassion on yourself, as in feel this emotion, and just be there and know that you're doing the best that you can, or write down your feelings. That also can be a way to deal with, to build those reserves. Physical, I love this. I am not an exercise, not a gym rat, but someone could say I'm a gym rat. So coping with stress by engaging our bodies is one of the best ways to manage stress. This can either be in the form of just home workouts from YouTube, going for a run, going for a long walk, taking just a well-needed nap, going for dance, just basically anything that involves your body, moving your body from side to side. When dancing, when you're dancing, people think about, oh, I must be perfect. Who said that? Ulisikia wapi? Just whatever moves your body can be seen to be exercise for 30 minutes every 3 times a week, can go a long way in your self-care. And then finally, socially, connecting with others. And it's important to know that these people must be people that like you and that you like. Many times we are around people who don't even like us, who we don't even like, but we're there at its chama, it's time for sijui jumuia, but you're there, you're angry at this person, mama naye amekuja tena, huyu mama wa kuongea sana, sijui baba mgani. So you end up living there feeling so drained, whether they're your relative or your friend. You must be around people who like you and who you like. So when you live there, you live there feeling rejuvenated, you've picked nice stories, you feel motivated, you feel optimistic, they have lifted you up, you've done the same to them, as opposed to just being around people. It must be quality people who you like and who like you. So what happens when self-care isn't working? Because it may not work. So depending on how far you are in terms of the stress and the burnout, sometimes it doesn't work. Or if you've developed depression, it may not work to just have a cup of tea and just relax, go for a massage. Sometimes even after doing those things, you've gone out with friends, you've gone out around people who you like, you've gone out for a lunch date, you've taken time to go for a pedicure, you have gone to church or to the mosque, you've been praying, but for some reason you just constantly feel tired, constantly feel worn out, or overwhelmed, overburdened. So when it doesn't work, there's need for us to now go to professional care. So this may be in terms of going to see a counselor, going to see a licensed psychologist for perhaps counseling, or if they think it's gone too far, then perhaps being referred to a psychiatrist for formal treatments that can either be an assessment for depression or for anxiety, and perhaps starting treatment. So with that, that is the end of my presentation. Unless there are questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you very much. You can now answer questions. There is the first question, which is from Dr. It's from Norbert. Norbert is asking, at what stage do you declare one to be mentally unstable? whatever that means. At what stage do you declare one to be mentally unstable? I've loved this talk a lot, and most of those things that you recommend. I know everyone here probably is just wondering, where do we get time for these things, for the massage, for the dance, and whatever. Maybe you can also touch on that.
First of all,
Yeah,
there's always time.
we would
Always,
all love to.
that you have 24 hours in a day. There's always time. Time iko. Shida ni kujipanga, but time iko. Time always is always there. So how does one know they're mentally unstable? So to be mentally unstable, first it's a very tricky word. Mentally unstable. Generally, one can be said to have a mental illness at a point whereby they're unable to function like they normally would. So perhaps they're sleeping too much or sleeping too little, they're barely eating, they're generally unproductive at work. So if you're unable to work, like you say, you're a stay-at-home mom, and normally you manage your home very well, take care of your kids, you cook meals, but now you're sleeping too much, you're always in bed, you don't want to hang around people, you are always irritable, and then you're unable to do your normal mom role at home like you used to, or you're a person you're a student, you normally go for lectures, but you've been in your bed for the last couple of days, couple of nights, you're barely sleeping, you're always tired, you're not even eating, you're unable to function as a student like you used to, go for your lectures, you have thoughts of perhaps taking your life, or you're hearing voices, and you're unproductive. So if you deviate from your normal day-to-day, whatever it is that you do at home, at work, in more than one facet, so not just at school. So if you're unable to go to school as usual, also unable to do your normal home activities, you might be unwell mentally. Not unstable, because that's it's very, what does that mean, unstable? But
Yeah.
you just be having a problem mentally.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I can see we have 2 hands up. I'm reminding members, yeah, we also have a dinner upcoming this month, late this month on 25th, just about 2-3 weeks to come. Let's join in. I've put more information there. So I'll start with Peace. Peace Valerian. You can air your question, and then we will go to Elizabeth.
Thank you, thank you, Chairman, for the acceptance to speak. Thank you, Dr. Mailaika. This was a very informative, productive talk, because you don't look at the side of the caregiver naturally. Like, you think everything is well with them, but after this talk, now I know that the caregivers also have a perspective. Thank you very much for the presentation, Dr. Mailaika.
Thank you. You said that was who? Valeria.
That's Peace. The name
Thank you very
itself
much,
is very
Peace.
wonderful. Peace, yes.
Hello?
Valeria.
Hello?
Yes. Wait. We have Elizabeth, whose hand was up earlier. Elizabeth, you can go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Mailaika, for that wonderful presentation. I know this from first-hand experience, because I have been a mother of a child living with quadriplegic cerebral palsy for 19 years, until 2 years ago when the Lord took him home. And I agree with you that time is always there, but as a caregiver, you must love yourself enough to find that time. And he loved music, so I would make sure that when I'm working around him, I would have music playing and I would dance to the music, so that I'm taking care of him and I'm also taking care of myself. I realized that after some time, I would be very irritable. I would be snapping at the other kids. I would be snapping at people at work. But when I started doing that, dancing to music as I'm taking care of him, just making sure that once in a while I get an opportunity to take just a nature walk, and also journal as much as I can, and try and deal with those feelings as they come. It is really helpful, but time will never come your way. You must find a way to create that time. So thank you very much for this presentation, and thank you for allowing me to say something.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. I think the next one is from Antonia. Antonia is saying, I could see from your presentation, the eighth practical strategy was financial, which you didn't touch on. Kindly explain. And then there is one from Dr. Melvin. Could overindulgence in religious activities mask an underlying depression or anxiety that needs treatment? And then we will go to Dr. Edna. Dr. Edna probably has a question there. Yeah, Malaika, you can move on with those two.
Yes. Yeah, so he asks if financial self-care is among the self-care strategies. That is correct, yes. I didn't think it was relevant here, but quite honestly, financial self-care basically means how we manage our finances in terms of trying to avoid as much as possible to live outside of our means. Because again, like we said, we are putting money aside, we're putting money aside in our emotional bank, in our social bank. Similarly, we need to know how to set aside money for in our finances, as in actual money. So that would mean perhaps talking to financial advisors, knowing for them to guide you in that particular financial self-care. I'm not very good. I can't really speak with authority on that one, on finances. So I'd rather not go further than that, lest I mislead people financially.
Thank
And
you.
the
There
other
was that second one from Dr. Melvin. It was about overindulgence. Could overindulgence in religious activities mask an underlying depression or anxiety that needs treatment, that needs attention?
Sometimes yes, it can be a form of denial, or we know when somebody is really desperate for help, desperate in terms of their loved one is not getting better, so they look far outside of themselves for help. So going to church, perhaps fasting all the time, spending time in prayer, and many times you find a lot of people who come to be seen by doctors, whether it's for physical or mental illness, have been through pastors for days on end, months, being prayed for, going from one church to the next church, even changing religions, desperately looking for, seeking a miracle for their loved one. And it may not be so much denial. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's just desperation, also lack of knowledge. So when one doesn't know, they do what they know best at the time. So sometimes it could be either a denial. They've been told by the doctor that perhaps this is a diagnosis, but in the denial of what the case is per ground, they may end up going to churches looking for a miracle. And of course, I cannot speak with authority on matters spirituality, because we know that miracles happen all the time. God is there. God answers prayers. So I'm not saying that it wouldn't work, but many times it's good for us to mix both biological treatments and spiritual interventions as well. So it may be either denial or just lack of knowledge, and sometimes it ends up being a mixture of that and a lot of time wasted. And when the person finally comes to see a doctor, perhaps the disease is way far gone, and now it's complicated and it's more expensive. Yeah, so it could be a mixture of things.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Eda had mentioned something also to do with nutrition, that you didn't touch on nutrition with respect to mental health. She doesn't agree with the soda element, that it's not nutritionally effective. I don't know what you will say about that. Dr. Eda, I can see you have your hands up. Maybe you can say what you have briefly.
I'm saying, yeah, thank you very much for that talk. It was very enlightening. But we need to take nutrition very seriously as part of physical self-care. When you take something that is as useless as a soda with 10 spoons of sugar and above, between 10 and 20, what will happen is that your body will produce insulin as a result, and you'll get a huge surge of insulin to reduce that abnormally high level of sugar. Then you get a sugar crash, and then you'll go into a depressive mode. So we need to talk about a healthy, balanced diet and eating regular meals, and specifically what kind of foods. For example, if you, instead of eating white bread, white rice, and these things that raise your sugar very suddenly, you would concentrate more on the complex carbohydrates like ngwashe, ndoma, those things that will raise your sugar slowly. And then half of the plate being at least vegetables, leafy green vegetables, and fruits, and the different types of fruits, and definitely not eating junk food. We have a lot of obesity in our society, especially with children, parents indulging that taste for junk food. So this is a topic all on its own, but we really need to talk about nutrition and having enough amount of water. The fatigue can also come as a result of not being adequately hydrated. So at least 8 glasses of water per day, and drinking slowly, that's the minimum. So waking up in the morning and rejuvenating your system with 2 glasses of warm water, but not drinking it all at a go, because then you'll overwhelm your kidney. Yes, so we need to have legumes as sources of protein, avoiding red meats, and all those kind of things, which is a topic on its own, but extremely important. People come to us if the doctor hasn't asked about their lifestyle, alcohol, drugs, what kind of things they're doing. There's not much we've done if you haven't asked those questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Eda,
Thank you very much.
for that. What I'd say about that is having a soda once in a while is not really a big deal, to be quite honest. We're talking about indulging, because you cannot all the time eat ndoma and ngwashe. Having ice cream once in a while, it's all about balancing your meals, balancing exercise. Even too much exercise is not good for you. Too much sleeping is not good for you. But once in a while, having a treat away from your normal healthy diet would not really kill you once in a while. That's just my point. I mean, yes, I agree with her that we need to balance our meals, eat healthy, definitely all the time. As a doctor, I can never tell someone not to have a balanced, healthy meal. But that life can also get routine. So once in a while, having indulging your sweet tooth would not kill you.
True. Too much of anything is dangerous, but moderation. Now, I know there are many other questions. I would like to say that Dr. Mailaika is in our WhatsApp group, and we can continue to direct those questions to her in the WhatsApp group. For those who are not in the WhatsApp group, you can fill in the form. I've shared the link there, and you will be able to get joined. For people who are asking for the recording, we always record and share the recording. We upload them by Wednesday on our YouTube channel, the Power Monday YouTube, which is at Power Monday. That is, I've shared a link there. Kindly consider subscribing. Dr. Mailaika, somebody also asked if they can get those slides to review. One way is you can get the recording on that YouTube, which everyone can get. Two, I know Dr. Mailaika can share them in the WhatsApp group, and then if you have some other questions, you can follow. Dr. You can also put your contacts here, just in case somebody wants to contact you directly. You can put it in the chat. Otherwise, I welcome all of you to the dinner. I know, Dr. I hope you will be there in the dinner. People who want to talk to you in person. You know, some of these things, people want to talk to you outside. Okay, I'd like to, at this point, invite Dr. Flo Ambayo to give a vote of thanks on behalf of the team. Dr. Florence.
Thank you, OPP.
Yeah.
I'm using my phone, so I don't know if I put my camera, how it's gonna look. But maybe allow me not to put my camera on right now.
Just go ahead.
Really say thank you to Dr. Mailaika for this topic. It is a much needed topic. We all need to hear it, because you may not be aware, but I'm sure almost every family right now has somebody they're caring for. Or at least you know somebody that is being cared for by a friend, or a family is grappling with an illness of an elderly member of the team, or a child that is autistic, or a child that has a CP. And so really, this is a very important topic that you have brought up, and I'm very grateful to hear this. I liked some of the things that I picked that you said. We always say that there is no health without mental health. And I'm sure you may have mentioned that. I joined it just a little late. And we don't usually think about that. We are always quick to run to the doctor when we have a headache or we have something else, but we don't think about mental health much. So this great awareness is really a great thing you have done today. I liked a few things that I picked out. Self-care. And I always say self-care is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation. You preserve yourself when you care for yourself, because this body will take care of you the next 30 years or the next 40 years. So you have to take care of it. It is gonna carry you. It will walk you to the bank. It will walk you to your place of work every day. So care for it. So thank you for really just helping us to get into this world of mental wellness. And thanks for the practical strategies that many of us ignore. I learned not too long ago that we have to move this body every day. Don't keep it in the car all the time. You wake up and then you step in the car, and then you sit at the table at your desk the whole day. Then you wake up again and you take this body to the car, and then you come to the house and then you sit again, and the pattern continues. Move this body, leave the car and walk, or go to the gym, jump around, do what Dr. Mailaika has just shared with us. It will help you to preserve this body and to care for yourself. And then the biggest one for me was having compassion on yourself. Have compassion on yourself. We sometimes feel like it is a punishment. It is like you have to wake up and do this and do this. And we have this thing of, I must do, I must do. Really, it is not a must for some things to be done. Have compassion on yourself, even as a caregiver. Sometimes you can actually take a small break. Ask somebody to step in for you for 2 hours and take a small break for yourself, and have compassion. And not just for yourself, but also have compassion for us who may not be caregivers. Please have compassion on the caregivers. It is not about sending them money. Don't just send money to your mom because she's taking care of your dad and never going home to take care of your dad for your mom. Even if you take leave for 2 days and just go and help mom so that she can take a break, put her legs up, read her favorite book as you're taking care of dad. Let's do that. Let's have empathy and compassion even on caregivers. And to just finalize, I would like to encourage what Dr. Mailaika said. Please seek professional psychological support when you need to. And sometimes as you send money to your parents for taking care of a sick parent or a sick child at home, also just allow them to come for psychological support. Let them come and talk about how they're feeling. Let somebody listen to them, because they are bottling up a lot. Allow for psychological professional support. It really goes a long way in this whole area of caregiving. Please support this month. We are actually talking about psychologists and this whole area of mental wellness. We are talking about cancer. yeah, breast cancer. And the people that have gone through this are some of the people that need a lot of support because of the caregiving that is needed when you have a cancer patient or when somebody in the family is struggling with caring for a cancer patient or even the cancer patient themselves. So please step in, join in this month, be a lot more aware and speak about it now that you've heard about caregiving. Thank you very much, and have a blessed day.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yeah, thank you. That was profound. Yes, we are very happy and grateful. At this point in time, I'd like to ask Antonia, is there any announcement we need to talk about? Then we close.